welcome Aaron Parness, Director of Applied Science at Amazon Robotics.
Aaron, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for talking to us and taking some time off to tell us a little bit about the new Vulcan project that is so exciting to hear about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how it interplays and is going to make life better for the experience of the Amazon employee?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Vulcan is Amazon's first robot with a sense of touch. And what that enables the robot to do is interact with more cluttered environments and understand physical contact. So the first two applications we're using Vulcan for are stowing and picking items off of our bookshelves. They're big, yellow, kind of canvas fabric bookshelves, and they hold all the items that are available for sale on Amazon.com. And think about adding a book to a bookshelf that already has a bunch of books on it. You have to push the books and you have to kind of interact with that clutter to make space to add that book you want to add. Gets harder, of course, because they're not all books. It's everything Amazon sells, from dog toys to bowling balls. And so we are giving the robot this sense of touch so it can interact with that cluttered and high contact environment. The way it makes life of our employees better is we are targeting the top rows and the bottom rows of those bookshelves. Currently, employees have to use a ladder to get up to those top rows or crouch down to get to those less ergonomically friendly rows of inventory. And if we can leverage the robots for those rows, it allows the employees to work in their power zone. So the employees are both safer and more productive. They're able to do more work. And so it's a win-win.
Wow. Safety first.
So for sure, people like me, this really increases their probability of success.
It does, yes.
So you've led teams through complex innovation cycles from NASA to Amazon. So you're a NASA engineer.
For 10 years. Yep.
So what leadership practices have you found most effective in fostering a culture that embraces experimentation, failure, and rapid iteration at scale?
Yeah, I am a huge believer in iterative design. You definitely have to coach, especially junior employees that have joined. I hire so many overachievers, and they want to get the problem right because that's what you learn in school. You got to get the problem right. And with iterative design, the idea is not getting version 1 right. It's getting version 7 right. And the way you do that is by getting version 1 out into the field to figure out all the stuff you weren't even thinking about, all the questions you had that you didn't even know were important. So one of the things I do is push us to go fast with the first prototypes. I would say the second thing that's been important to me as a leader is making sure everyone knows where the end zone is. Like, everyone knows and has a common understanding of what winning looks like. Sometimes you get 6 or 10 or 11 players on the field, and they're all going different directions. And as the leader, you can remind everybody with the consistent message that here's our milestone, or here's why we're doing this. And you see this boost in collaboration after you do that because you align everybody's incentives. That's been really important.
So you, in a prior interview, we talked to somebody else, not you, about one-way doors and two-way doors.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you share with our listeners what that concept is?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite, sort of Amazon phrases. A one-way door is a decision that is really hard to unwind. It's something like you're purchasing, a big piece of equipment. It's not easy to return that piece of equipment after you purchase it. A two-way door is something that if you realize you made the wrong choice, it's easy to go backwards and try another option. And so software can be this way at times. Like, you can roll something out and we do what we call an A/B test. So you test version 1 and you test the control, and if it doesn't work, you roll back. You want to go really fast through two-way doors because it's low stakes. And you want to stop and you want to kind of make sure everybody's aligned when you have a one-way door decision because it's much more difficult to unwind.
So a lot on your leadership journey, I think the culmination, it seems like, is to create a robot that can have a sense of touch. And I understand this may have been a project of yours for a very long time, or an idea of yours for a very long time. So tell our leaders listening today how that journey went.
Yeah, we have been working on it for a while. It started with, 3 or 4 of us in the back corner of a lab. And in fact, there was a recent PhD graduate who was the first one that said, we want to try and stow in these densely cluttered bins. And my initial reaction was, how naive. This junior roboticist doesn't know how hard the real world is. But it was interesting problem. I like hard problems. I wasn't as motivated then about we have to go solve this, enormous business critical thing. And so I got involved, and what we realized is we made a couple of kind of innovations. We did some experiments, and we realized rather than putting the whole robot hand into the shelf, you could put these paddles with conveyor belt and feed the item into the shelf or pull it back. You kept control of the item as you were doing that. It's oh, wow, light bulb moment. We got through 1 or 2 of those, and I flipped completely. I went from let's we're going to learn the reality. Robots are not good enough to do this to, oh my gosh, this is robotics 2.0. This is the future. And we tried to go quickly and iterate and go through those prototype cycles. And so the team grew from 3 or 4 in 2020 to, 10 or 12 in 2021. And I think we're, between pick and stow, my team's in Seattle and Germany, we're, approaching 300 today. And we've got robots out in real fulfillment centers in both Germany and the United States. And it has been wild and super fun. I tell people I'm living my robot dreams. But it keeps being challenging too in new ways. And scaling a robot is just as hard as building the first proof of concept.
So I have to ask the Vulcan name.
Yeah.
The origins. There's some people that may think it came from the Star Trek world.
Yeah, we get that a lot. It is not, though. Vulcan is the Roman god of the forge. He's a builder, and we think of ourselves as builders, and so it is more about making stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the complexities of scaling? You've talked about, okay, so we got one thing to do this.
Yep.
Now to get tens of thousands?
Yeah. So an Amazon building, a fulfillment center, can process 1 million orders in a day. And there are more than 100 of those buildings across the United States. And so you think of this long tail of things that can go wrong. If something happens 1 in a million, happens every day in every Amazon building. And so the challenge of scaling, it's not to solve all of those, but how do you make the system robust so that it can automatically recover if it has a problem, or it can expose the right information when it has a problem so that your maintenance engineer or your technician is able to quickly get it back online. Those are some of the problems of scaling. Just getting repeatability, getting a robot that's dependable for our operators. When we in Amazon Robotics think of our customer, we usually think of those frontline workers and the people that are operating the fulfillment centers. And if we can make their jobs better, they make the Amazon customer better, who's buying things from our storefront. And we get a lot of feedback from them, and part of scaling is listening to that feedback and adding and adapting and making sure your product is lovable by your end user. It is a lot.
So as you were thinking through the lovability of Vulcan in particular to enhance the employee experience, what are some of the things that maybe the typical person out there, the typical leader that listens, wouldn't necessarily think that you had to do to make it more sort of easier to utilize in a workplace?
Yeah. There are some big ones like using the top rows and the bottom rows that we talked about, and that feedback came super strong. It's by far the most lovable feature. And then there's some other ones that you think, oh, that's obvious, and yet. So as we were building the robot, there are actually 3 robots connected, and we gave each of them their own touchscreen interface, because as a builder, you're like, oh, this is modular, and this makes it easy. And then you get out in the field, and they're like, I hate having to go between the different monitors to figure out what I'm doing with the system. We want it in one monitor, one user interface. And you're like, of course you do. we're going to fix that. And so that's one of the things, like that user feedback you get. Also, there's just, people are so different. And so how people interact with the robot, you're always learning new things, sometimes conflicting things. And you have to try and balance like someone who wants the log out button in the upper left versus the lower right, One thing that's really important there is consistency. So Amazon Robotics has a fleet of robots. And so we're always talking with the partner teams to make sure that user experience is consistent and folks don't have to learn, 7 different user interfaces. Those are some of the things we work with them on. Yeah.
Always listening to the team members and their experiences.
Yeah, we have a whole section in our monthly business reviews called Voice of the Customer. And we're getting quotes from those end users and diving deep on, what went wrong or what they really liked. And you get both the positive and the negative signals from that information.
Great.
So that consistency feels like street signs around the world and rental cars.
Yeah.
The gas is always in the same place. Restrooms are not. Men's and ladies' rooms get mixed up.
Yeah.
But the gas pedal is always in the same place.
Yeah, that's a good example. You also want intuitive sort of signage and intuitive user experience. So even if someone is new to Vulcan, but they've got experience with other robotic systems, they can, learn it quickly or it feels familiar. I think we all take for granted. I think I'm writing my instructions. I expect everyone to read every last word of that instruction manual that I've put all that effort into writing. And, we don't do that. And so you got to make those cues and those experiences for the customer just super streamlined, easy, intuitive. We partner with a team. Engineers are not always the best at intuition and user experience. So we partner with, product design and UI UX folks to get that right.
So does Vulcan play well with the other robots?
Yeah, I think the thing we think about more than having Vulcan play well with other robots is play well with the people that are using it. And those aren't just the people directly interacting with it. So if we had to get Vulcan to handle every kind of item that Amazon sells, we would be waiting 50 years. You can't go for 100% coverage. We don't believe in 100% automation or robotics. And so making sure that the workload is shared in the right ways and collaboratively between the people that are working not just with the system, but downstream of the system, upstream of the system. That's where we spend a lot of time making sure it plays well. There are some things that matter. So we have a robotic system that applies the shipping labels to packages. If it does that poorly and then later on we grip that package and rip the shipping label off, I say this because that was a real problem. That's a hey, you two teams need to talk and sort this out. But more often we're trying to make sure we fit into this, symphony of a warehouse where so many different things are happening, many of them with human workers and some of it with automation. You've got to get that whole system to play all together.
Great. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the time today.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Aaron.
Our thanks to Aaron. Now let's join our conversation with Beryl.
Welcome to the conversation with Beryl Tomay. She's the Vice President of Transportation of Amazon, and we are live at the Delivering the Future event. So, Beryl, let's talk a little bit about your role and the announcements you made today. The Driver Academy, the glasses are the thing everyone, as someone who wears meta glasses, I want to know the next thing that I can do so I don't, fall over things while looking at my phone. And Wellspring. So give us a little bit of a rundown of what's new and exciting.
I was able to announce big news, which is the glasses. So what these are is our latest innovation for delivery drivers, where they're designed working back from enhancing driver safety, comfort, and experience. Effectively, what they are is they use AI and computer vision to be a companion to drivers in their journey of delivering packages from the delivery van to the customer doorstep. So They have a heads-up display that will display information in their field of vision, so they don't have to use their phone or interact with their phone. And that allows them to be hands-free, which enables them to really focus on their surroundings and be present in the moment, which is the part that enhances safety. So just to walk you through and give you a sense of how they work, when the van is parked, the first thing the driver has to do is find the right set of packages for that delivery stop. Now, all they have to do is glance around to the packages in the vehicle, and the glass will tell them, okay, here are the ones you need to grab for this particular location. They grab those, and it'll then help them with navigating to the doorstep. And this is actually pretty important for complex locations like apartment buildings where it might not be trivial to know where to go. So it shows building outlines, it shows the navigation path, what direction they're facing with respect to where they're trying to get to. And once they arrive at that location, they drop off the package and just look at it, scans it, and takes a delivery photo. If you've ordered something, anything from Amazon, those delivery photos that you see in the orders page, that gets snapped, and then they return to the vehicle. We've been trialing this with hundreds of drivers over the past few months and incorporating their feedback from anything around the hardware to the user interface, all aspects of it. The feedback that we've gotten has been very positive, with drivers saying it's been game-changing, enhancing their safety, making them feel more comfortable in the environment, and improving their experience, saving them interactions with the van.
You know, one of the things that it mentioned this morning was alert you of dogs.
Yeah.
I have a friend who was bitten by a dog, terrified of rogue dogs. So you are able to log things like that to keep your driver safer, right?
Yeah, one part of this device that I'm really excited about is hazards detection and display capabilities that we're going to build into it with more and more hazards. One of those is dogs. So it's able to detect the presence of a dog, alert the driver. But just as importantly, it'll be able to store that in our systems to alert and warn future deliveries to that location by other drivers. It's even broader than that, though. You can envision use cases like uneven grounds where drivers might slip, trip, and fall. And that's not specific to a delivery driver. Any of us, if you're walking around, if you don't pay attention or you just miss it, you might slip, trip, and fall. It's a safety incident. So I'm very excited about the potential for this technology to be able to detect these hazards and build up our hazard system to be able to show it to more drivers.
As you are exploring and training the drivers for the different hazards that they encounter, how do you go about providing that training and providing that understanding so that they're prepared in those moments?
Yeah, we have a very comprehensive training program called Last Mile Driver Academy. We've been expanding it quite a bit. It has a mix of traditional classroom training, and what we find really effective is the virtual reality simulations and the slip, trip, and fall course. It's an actual obstacle course that I've taken myself. It was difficult, but I passed it. That really prepares them for the real world without any kind of risk. Even the slip, trip, and fall course, you're attached to a harness that's connected to a beam up top. So if you actually fall, it catches you and you're safe. But it prepares you for, slippery surfaces, water, uneven ground, obstacles in your way. So we've helped train over 300,000 drivers with this training. And one data point that I'm really proud of is we've seen a 15% reduction in slip, trip, and fall incidents. And 93% of drivers have reported feeling more confident before they go out on the road to deliver.
Wow, great statistics. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Amazon's transportation network clearly evolving rapidly, from smarter routing to AI-powered logistics, all the stuff that you oversee with your colleagues. So for senior leaders, what lessons can they draw from Amazon's approach to scaling innovation and concurrently maintaining reliability? Because some companies do scalability well, others do run the business well. you're really bringing both together concurrently. And there's a little bit of secret sauce in that.
I will say a couple of things. We do take a lot of big bets, and we look at moonshot ideas, which was part of the genesis of the smart glasses. And it's something we try to do continually, where we force ourselves to think, how do we think outside the box here? How can we, what crazy ideas do we have? While recognizing that there is inherent risk here, and not a lot of them, and even sometimes most of them are not going to work out. But if you're not willing to take those risks, you're not going to invent the really important, critical products. And we're okay with failure. We're okay with some of these things and expect some of them to not work out. I think that's one, and not giving up too early when we actually take those bets. The second thing that we do quite a bit in our operation, and I actually am out on the road a lot, is I'm traveling to different delivery stations, doing ride-alongs, doing deliveries myself. I was in Findlay, Ohio earlier this year. I went deliberately when it was very, very cold, just to be able to experience what DSPs and drivers experience in those conditions, because it's vastly different from what I experienced in my home in Seattle. So that is also an idea generator, but getting close to our partners and understanding their experiences is a great piece of input into being able to innovate for the right things. So I think the combination of those two things is kind of a necessary part of it to be able to do all that.
So clearly safety and keeping the drivers, giving them the best chance of success, and safety is very top of mind. And you can see or hear the passion in your voice as it relates to that. Where do you get that inspiration from as a leader?
From a personal motivation perspective, I don't think there's anything more gratifying than knowing people are safe. We all have jobs that we do. We want to keep communities safe, and we want to put the weight of Amazon from an innovation perspective behind these delivery service partners to enable them to really focus on running their businesses, building amazing teams, and delivering for customers, and doing all that being as safe as possible. It's just super, super heartwarming, and I think that's probably the intrinsic motivation. Safety for safety's sake, right?
Yeah, we were talking yesterday about changing economic landscape and how some manufacturing jobs are going away. Some of those jobs were dangerous. And Amazon is filling the gap and creating another path to middle class. And those jobs are a lot safer. And listening to the commitment to continue to make them evolutionarily more safe. So as people age, it's not just 20-year-olds delivering packages, but people can continue in a role well as their life evolves and be able to build a career at Amazon, which is really heartening as we think about being part of the fabric of our community.
Definitely. We've introduced robotics into our operation over 10 years ago, and robotics and automation really helps with repetitive tasks, manual labor like lifting heavy things, and when we're able to move that focus to the robot, which acts as a companion to the associate, they can then focus on other tasks that are just better for their safety, better for their experience. So that's also very compelling. The thing you said really struck me about aging populations. I was in Tokyo, Japan last year, and every time I do these visits to our delivery stations, I meet with a local group of delivery service partners, and we have a DSP program in 21 countries. Japan is one of them. And the first question from the group was something I'd never heard before, which was, we have drivers that are, it's an older set of drivers. What can you do for them to make their experience better and easier? I'd never gotten that question before. I've talked to dozens of delivery service, over 100 delivery service partners. And that was really heartwarming because I thought, like, just the fact that they're asking that and they care about that is incredible from a cultural perspective and how they're thinking about their teams and employees' perspective. So that was something that stayed with me. It was over a year ago, but I think it's a very noble thing and something we should all strive to look at.
As we look at changing demographics, it seems like it will become more important.
Yeah, especially in some locations too. I mean, it looks totally different around the world. There's different considerations everywhere. But the more we can do for safety, comfort, experience, I mean, there are things we're going to keep investing in.
Beryl, thank you. It is lovely to again get to talk to you and hear how Amazon is evolving and driving toward safety and being an important part of our business ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Love the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.